All right, good morning, good morning. Let's get live everywhere here. Okay. Got it on Instagram as well. All right, we're live. We're live. Morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody. What is going on? Thank you for tuning in. Thursday, January 30th, 8:01 on the dot. 8:01. It was 8 when I started. I just want everybody to know that and understand. It was 8 when we started. So I don't want everybody, coming to me and saying, "Hey, Slee, you're late." Not today. Maybe some other days. Back in studio. It's been a while since I've been studio, not going to lie. It's kind of one of the beauties of doing a show on YouTube. One of the beauties of doing an independent show is you kind of be wherever the hell you want to be. Got that flexibility, but it's always nice to be back in studio. As you can tell, listen, you know how you could tell I'm back in studio? Look at the steam coming up here. Had my cup of coffee this morning, and now we're going tea. We got a lot to get into in today's show. It's something to keep in mind, too. No guests today. So today you're going to have to listen to me talk for an hour straight, probably an hour plus. So you got to listen to this idiot for an hour. But I'm looking forward to it. We got a lot to talk about. Sometimes when you have a guest, you feel like you're kind of rushed. You can't really get through topics. Maybe I'm not looking at the comments enough, but they certainly serve their purpose. And then other times when I don't have a guest, I think I get to just hang out with my people. So cheers to everybody. Good morning to you. Okay, a couple quotes here. Not a couple. I just have one quote. The other quote fell in my teeth. I don't even think I could read it. This one I've read before, but let me do this one, which is a new one. Smiling is the most basic kind of piecework. Smiling is the most basic kind of piecework. This one I've read before, and it fell into my tea, so all I know is I probably have some type of ink in my tea. Never regret your mistakes. Admire the courage it took to attempt the unknown. Never regret your mistakes. Admire the courage it took to attempt the unknown. All right, there's a couple quotes there right there. Cheers to everybody. Hopefully everybody's having a really, really nice morning, and we're gonna get the show started. So let me first kind of go through a little bit of a rundown what we got for the show today, and then I'll look at some of the comments, and then we'll get the show started. All right, got a Lakers game tonight, by the way. Lakers Wizards. Just it doesn't get any better than Lakers Wizards. How is this not a nationally televised game? Somebody explain that one to me. I almost flew to Washington. I'm like, I got to be there. I got to be there. All right, next 2 weeks for the Lakers. Yesterday I started the show. Right when I started the show, there was, obviously the news about Anthony Davis. He was going to be out he's going to get checked in approximately a week or so. And I just thought the vibe of the show yesterday, because of Anthony Davis getting injured, Lakers obviously losing to Philly, I didn't like the vibe. Not going to lie with everybody. I wasn't crazy about the vibe. So, what it's going to be, I actually got some positive things to talk about Lakers related, what these next 2 weeks are going to look like. So we'll spend a little time on that. What does Pelinka do? I want to play out both scenarios. I want to play out a scenario that, how do you view Rob Pelinka if he goes out there and makes a move? How do you view Rob Pelinka or a week from today? Remember, literally 1 week from today is the trade deadline. So if he makes a move, what's it look like for Rob? If he doesn't make a move, what's that look like for Rob? So we'll play out both of those scenarios, because I think there's just so much attention right now on Rob Pelinka. And I think, a lot of Laker fans out there, I know they want a move to happen, but let's see how this next week plays out. The cost for a big man, what's crazy? So I did a video yesterday. When I was done with my show, I'm like, that's not enough. I didn't have what I wanted in, my live show. It was kind of a little bit choppy. I was starting to get into some topics, and then had a conversation with Dave McMenamin. Probably didn't go as deep in depth with Dave as I probably wanted to. So I'm like, all right, let me record another video separately on just kind of the cost of a big man. Is it going to cost 2 first-rounders for Miles Turner? Was reading an article this morning that it's probably going to cost 2 first-rounders for Walker Kessler. So I put out that video yesterday. There were a lot of comments about how people felt about the draft picks and what to do, and is it worth giving up 2 first rounders for one of these guys or whatever the case is. So I want to look at some of those comments. Bronny James, I got a quick little thing on Bronny. A lot of reaction yesterday to Bronny playing in Philly. I probably should have done it yesterday, but we didn't. I just want to give my quick thoughts on that. The NBA is potentially shortening games. Adam Silver is talking about instead of 12-minute quarters, they'll go to 10-minute quarters. And then I was going to bring this up yesterday. Yankees owner talks about the Dodgers. We'll talk a little bit about what that all means. So thank you for being a part of the show. Please take a quick second and subscribe to the channel. We're at 28.4 now. Numbers moving up. 28,400. I think over the probably averaging just under 1,000 new subscribers a month. So thank you very much for coming on, and let's keep this thing moving, and let's try to get to 30,000 subscribers and take it from there. All right, let's look at some of the comments here. Then I'm going to get the show started. See what people got to say here. Good morning, everybody. Now we get to hear how DFS is and what a difference maker he is on you son of a. You're going to call me out that quick, huh? I've been selling the DFS stock for the past 3 weeks. You don't want it? I'll take it. I'll take that Dorian Finney-Smith stock. Good morning, Slee. Good morning. Big Al. Pelinka's 8 turnovers is the real problem. I see what you did there. All right, let's see what else we got here. Good morning, Sleewa. All right, good morning to everybody. Good morning. Look at that. That T coming up. Dangerous. I live my life dangerous. I know when people think of Sleewa, they're like, oh, that guy. Savage. I mean, he lives his life on the edge. Who knows where Sleewa's going to be? This T, sip it right now. It's basically like I don't know, joining a bike club, a motorcycle club. Not healthy. All right, let's get the show started. Let me tell everybody, we started the show yesterday, and the news came out about Anthony Davis. Not everybody was, obviously thrilled about where the Lakers were. And in a short period of time, within 24 hours, you're like, hey, I feel good about the Lakers. Here they are. They've won 6 of their last 7 games. Impressive win against the Boston Celtics. And then next thing you know, they lose to Philly, get their asses kicked by Philly. Tyrese Maxey drops 43. Anthony Davis only plays 10 minutes. That's without Joel Embiid and Paul George, and Philly just, dominates the Lakers, however you want to describe it. And then the news comes out when the show started yesterday that Anthony Davis is going to be out. He's going to at least be reevaluated for another week or so. Yesterday wasn't a good day. But here's why. I'm going to tell you guys why I kind of feel once the dust settles, sometimes you're like, okay, well, let's take a look here. What are the Lakers working with here? I feel better this morning. Let me tell you why. Nothing's really changed in the Lakers situation. I mean, however you felt about them over the last 2 or 3 weeks, it's really not that different. And let me kind of explain what I mean by that. Anthony Davis is going to miss some time. All right, let's say AD gets reevaluated in a week. Let me play out a worst case scenario with Anthony Davis. Let's say AD is gone for 2 weeks. Do you know what 2 weeks from now is? 2 weeks from now is their final game would be against the Utah Jazz, and then it's the All-Star break. So there's 7 games between now and the All-Star break. Let's just say, hypothetically, Anthony Davis is out for the final 7 games. All right, I was listening to Dave McMenamin yesterday. So he did the show, but he was also on ESPN and talking with the NBA Today crew over there. And he talked about how, hey, maybe this could be a blessing in disguise for Anthony Davis. He's been dealing with plantar fasciitis. He's been dealing with some other kind of bruises, I think a heel injury, something along those lines. So he's been dealing with some kind of, in an 82-game grind, whatever injuries that you're dealing with. Hypothetically, let's say Anthony Davis is out for 2 weeks. Okay, he's out for 2 weeks. Your season's not going to fold in 2 weeks. I mean, AD's going to be back. AD's still going to be the dominant player that he has been pretty much all season. Maybe they're a little bit more cautious of how they want. Maybe AD, instead of missing the next 7 games. He misses 5, and then he comes back for those final 2 games against the Utah Jazz. They got a home game and then a road game against the Utah Jazz, and then you're at the All-Star break. The point that I'm making is it's not like AD's got a major injury. Nobody feels like this is, serious in the sense where he's going to be gone for a month or 2 months or whatever the case is. AD is going to eventually be back, and obviously from that perspective, that this isn't anything long term. AD is going to be back. So okay, let's whatever vibes you were feeling over this last 2 weeks or so, it's not like those are gone. Those will eventually come back when AD comes back. All right, let me tell you another thing why I'm positive this morning about where the Lakers are sitting. I think there's something about, can we see what the rest of this roster does? Can we see guys like Dorian Finney-Smith and Vanderbilt and Gabe Vincent and Rui Hachimura? Can we kind of have some of these other players? I thought Anthony Davis said something that was important after they lost against Philly. He's like, listen, once you lose Anthony Davis, obviously that changes everything. But our biggest problem was we weren't prepared to game plan without AD. So at least if we know coming into a game we don't have Anthony Davis, then you can kind of be a little bit more prepared for whatever happens. Excuse, no excuse, whatever the case is. We know that Philly was missing a lot of players. Let's see how for me, it's the DFS, the Jared Vanderbilt, some of these other guys that can continue to, all right, AD's not here, so there's nobody to save us. It's kind of on our shoulders. If Dorian Finney-Smith keeps playing the way he has since his trade to the Lakers, okay, then we got a little bit of a problem. Vando's going to kind of slowly but surely start working up his minutes and everything else. I think the other thing to pay attention to is, I think the other thing you really pay attention, it kind of puts the Lakers in an interesting position. Does this help push them towards going after a trade? Does Rob Pelinka look at this and say, well, I can't give up the next 6-7 games or whatever the case is, however long Anthony Davis is gone for? Maybe that causes him to be a little bit more aggressive. I mean, I don't know how much influence it's going to have. The only real negative that I can see is, yes, you can fall back in the standings. That's really the one negative that you look at and you say, all right, they're positioned right now 5th place in the Western Conference. I mean, Lakers aren't in a bad position. We've talked about this plenty of times before, but does it put them back by the time Anthony Davis comes back? Does it put them back in kind of that play-in tournament? Could, but you still got, 35, 33, whenever he comes back, games left. It's not like there can't be any movement. So I just think whatever the vibe was, for me over the course of the last 24 hours, the reality is when the dust settles, Anthony Davis is going to be back. Lakers are still going to, obviously, the AD injury is not going to, it's not going to all of a sudden make Rob Pelinka say, well, I'm not going to make a trade now. Maybe it might speed up the process of making a trade, but I don't think that's going to really have that much of a difference. And, luckily for the Lakers, they built themselves a very small cushion, but a little bit of a cushion, right? They got 19 losses. Denver's got 19 losses. Clippers got 20. Minnesota's got 21. Dallas has got 22. You got kind of a bunch of teams that are all in the same position. Now, the one thing that you're worried about is Minnesota's won 4 in a row. Dallas is eventually going to get healthy. Phoenix now has won 7 of their last 10 games. So I think there are some teams behind them that you just got to imagine will slowly start working their way forward. But I think it's easy to just kind of look like, oh my gosh, AD's out, the world's going to end. He's coming back. AD's not going to be gone for a month. He's not going to be gone for 2 months. And I don't know how much it's really going to affect the Lakers when it comes to what the front office does. I don't think it's going to deter them from doing anything. So I think the Lakers will be fine. I will say this before the All-Star break. This is their schedule. You got Washington tonight. Obviously, go handle business. And I know I've said this before. Any game that you don't have Anthony Davis in, you could lose that game. Well, you better win tonight. I think Washington's lost 15 games in a row now. Again, their asses, they're getting blown out 20, 25 points. They're losing to teams like Toronto, other teams that are not trying to compete as well. So you got Washington tonight. Of course, New York and Clippers. You got the Knicks and the Clippers coming up the 2 games after that. Without AD, probably both L's. I'd be really surprised if Lakers won either one of those games. But then to kind of close things out, Golden State at home, Indiana at home, Utah at home, and then at Utah to kind of close things off before you get to the All-Star game. So um, there's some winnable games there. Of course, without Anthony Davis, anything can happen in any one of these games. But I think, the world's not going to end, and I think the Lakers will be just fine. It's going to be more about the attention of what do the Lakers do over the next week that helps them with the rest of the regular season. But let Anthony Davis, if he's got this issue going on with his the ab strain, okay, does it help that he's out for a week and a half, 2 weeks? Does it help with other areas of his body that then will only help him as he gets to the All-Star break, and then we go from there. All right, let me kind of keep moving on some topics here. I want to hit on. Let me actually. I want to throw one more thing in here, and then I'll look at the comments. So, do you know what I've heard as I sit here and I talk about the standings and we kind of go through the Western Conference? There's been kind of a little bit of a theme these last couple of days that I think is pretty accurate. So let me tell you what I mean by that. There was Keith Pompey, who is out on the East Coast, covers the Philadelphia 76ers, came on a couple days ago. And I said, hey, give me a team that you think comes out of the West. And his response was, I think his exact quote was, I think the West is wide open. Yesterday I had Dave McMenamin on, and he kind of had a similar, hey, if you look at the Western Conference, yes, give teams credit. There are teams out there like the Oklahoma City Thunder. Memphis is having a good season. Houston's having a really good season. Other teams are going to get healthy. But I don't know if you're looking at the Western Conference and saying to yourself, oh, no team's got a shot. I think a lot of teams are saying, well, if we get the right matchup, if we're hot at the right time, if we make a move before the trade deadline, who knows? Maybe we could come out of the Western Conference. I don't think that's a crazy take to have. I was listening to NBA Sirius XM radio or Sirius XM, the NBA channel this morning driving in. And again, there was another reporter out there, and he's like, I don't know. The West, he was talking about how impressive Houston is beatable. He was talking about how impressive Memphis is beatable. He's talking about OKC. He's like, I think they have addressed their needs, and I think they have addressed their experience, but you don't know because they've never been to the NBA Finals. As in this, iteration of team under Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, they've never been to the NBA Finals. So I think that's really kind of a positive thing for the Lakers and really the entire Western Conference is, do you look at any of these squads and say to yourself, they're completely unbeatable? I don't think you say that. And even if you have that saying about the Oklahoma City Thunder, they're still going to have to prove it in the postseason. Let's take a look at some of your comments, and then I want to start talking about Rob Pelinka and play out a couple scenarios here. Let's see what we got here. Let's see what the hell everyone's talking about. Let's see what we got here. There's some dark horses. Okay, I agree about that. Okay, keep them picks. We'll come back to that. We'll come back to keep them picks. All right, let's see what we got here. Slee, happy Thursday. Happy Thursday to you too. Let's see what we got. Pelinka turned good players into trash like Zubats, Caruso, and many others. Okay. You can't build around the Lakers players. That's why other teams want the picks so they can build their team. Well, every team's in a different position. They want the picks because those picks are very, very valuable. And the Lakers are trying to win right now. So what they're giving out is an incentive to give out those picks. D'Angelo Russell, I don't think D'Angelo Russell necessarily the Brooklyn Nets were trading because they're trying to stack up W's this year. They knew it's an expiring contract. They knew that they can get some draft capital out of it. And that's why they did the move. That's why they made the move. All right, let's see what else we got here. By the way, whatever positivity I was trying to bring, the comments certainly are not following that theme right there. Let's see what we got here. Please have a logical rotation. Hayes starting at 5. Shake the backup if no Gabe Vincent backs up. Oh, Coloco backs up Hayes. See what happens from there. Stop showcasing JJ. All right, Northbro, I appreciate the super there. Yeah, I think the playing bigger lineups is a no-brainer. Um, so we'll especially if Anthony Davis is that if that's his need, and that's really what we're going to be talking about here coming up. Um, yeah, I mean, I even think like yesterday, I'll give you an example. 2 days ago, when Lakers played on Tuesday, who they had Bronny comes in in the first quarter, and it's like, why is Bronny coming in? Somebody want to explain to me why Bronny James is getting some playing time right now? Um, yeah, I'm with you on if you're going to. I'd actually like to see Shake Milton play more, just because I have no idea what Shake Milton's going to bring to the table. So there's a little bit of that. But Northborough, thank you for the super brother. You got my coffee. Appreciate you. Or tea in this regard. All right, let's let's get into. I want to play out these Rob Pelinka scenarios here real quick. 1 week left before the trade deadline. 1 week left. I'll throw this question out to Laker fans. I might already have the answer to it. 1 week from today, I think the trade deadline will end noon next Thursday, so February 6th. So let's say we're at Thursday, February 6th, and we're at noon. Do you have faith Rob Pelinka has improved the roster or no? Do you have faith that Rob Pelinka made a move or he did not make a move? I'll throw that question out. And I think I have a pretty good vibe of what people are going to say, and I'm probably going to be on the other side. And I'm going to be on the other side because I think there's too much pressure for him not to make a move. Um, I think he makes a move. But let me play out both scenarios. Okay. Number one, play out two different scenarios for everybody. Number one, he makes a deal and he gets a big. Number two, he doesn't make a deal and he holds on to the picks. Which one is more likely to happen? Makes a deal, doesn't make a deal, and he still has those picks. Well, let's play out the first one and we'll play out the second. We'll just kind of play out both scenarios here, and then I'll look at some of the comments. If he makes a deal, all of a sudden, the pressure is off Rob Pelinka, at least for the moment, right? Then you're going to look to see and say, okay, did that move work? Did it not work? But that's something we're going to analyze down the road. We're probably going to analyze it by the time we get to the summer. Let's say he makes a deal. Okay, that means then he had made a deal earlier, probably 35 days before the trade deadline, and he addressed a need that the Lakers had in a player like Dorian Finney-Smith on paper, right? And now it's going to be up for DFS to live up to what his shooting percentage was from the three-point line when he was with the Brooklyn Nets. If you're labeled as a 3-and-D guy, well, you better be playing defense and hitting your threes, because that's why the Lakers traded for you. But if he makes another deal before the NBA trade deadline, and let's just say he addressed the big situation. Let's just say doesn't matter. I don't care who the big is. Let's say he got Robert Williams, or he got Walker Kessler, or he got Jakob Poeltl. Go down the list of whichever big that you want to mention there. He addresses that, and the Lakers have their big. If Pelinka does that, he takes the pressure off himself. If Pelinka does that, he can sit back and say to all these Laker fans too that are going to be critical about Rob Pelinka, he could sit back and say, well, I did exactly what everybody was telling me to do. And I also did what Anthony Davis was asking me to do. I went out there and okay, now it's up to them to go make it happen. Then I think there's going to be less bitching and complaining about Rob Pelinka. There'll be more bitching and complaining about, well, this player didn't come through. How come that didn't happen? Because I think the complaining last year more than anything else was, Rob, you said that you got all these picks that you have and everything else. You're going to go improve the roster. And when the dust settled, it's the same team. Why would we have expected a different result? It's the same exact squad. And then in the summer, it's like, all right, the Lakers are going to do something. Now they have even more picks that they can utilize. Nope, they drafted Dalton Connect. They kept their 2 first-rounders. They didn't do anything. And the season started, and it was the same exact squad for the most part, right? You gave guys like Christian Wood and Cam Reddish. You gave some of these players that probably shouldn't have had a player option. You gave them player options. The Gabe Vincent deal isn't looking good. Like, you're starting to look at all this. Okay. But if he gets to the NBA trade deadline, and by the time the deadline is over in a week, he traded for Dorian Finney-Smith, he moved D'Angelo Russell, and then he traded some of his draft assets to go get another big. Can't Rob Pelinka sit back and say, I did my job? It ain't perfect, but I did what I was supposed to do. I did what the fan base was asking me to do. And then I also did, most importantly than the fan base, I did what Anthony Davis was asking me to do. If that scenario plays out, I think the pressure comes off of Rob Pelinka and it starts shifting towards the players. Now it's, can LeBron be saying that it's the roster construction? Can Anthony Davis be saying, well, we needed a similar model that we had 5 years back when I was playing with Dwight Howard and JaVale McGee? That's scenario number one. That if they make a move, I think Pelinka could kind of sit back and say, all right, well, let's see how this plays out. But no one can say that I just sat back and did nothing. I did make a move. I did understand the urgency. I did understand that, we're not a franchise that's trying to sell right now. We're trying to buy. And I used some draft capital to go and make it happen. Okay, let me play out the other scenario. Scenario number two. He doesn't make a deal, and then he holds on to the picks. If that happens, if we're sitting here, February 6th, it's noon on a Thursday, I got to figure out what I'm going to be doing show-wise for that day because I know I'll have, obviously more content that day. But if we're sitting in that scenario and he didn't make a move, then Rob Pelinka failed to do his job. By the way, not because of what we say, but because of what Rob said. Pelinka was the one that was talking about how, hey, I got these first rounders, and by the summer, I got 3 first rounders now. So imagine the type of moves that I can make. It was Rob that was saying even a year and a half ago, well, you can't buy a home that's not for sale. Okay, but Rob, go look around the NBA. People are still making moves. People are still making deals. It's not like, the Suns made a deal, and look at how little assets that they have. They're still out there trying to make deals. Teams are still making deals. Teams are still making moves. You just overpromised and you underdelivered. I know I've used that example before. He went out publicly and talked about the picks and the deals and everything else. Those are the two scenarios that Rob Pelinka is playing with. And if you think a week from today, Rob Pelinka, who, let me tell you what happens after the trade deadline. Right after the trade deadline, Lakers have a game. Let me double check here on who they're playing that day, because if this goes the way it has the last couple of years, and I've been in these kind of media scrums. So Lakers got a game February 6th. They're playing the Golden State Warriors. Busy day for both of those franchises. They got a home game at 7 o'clock. Here's what will typically happen. If JJ Redick typically talks at 5:30 for a 7 o'clock tip-off, what's happened in the past is Rob will talk maybe at 5 o'clock, maybe at 5:15, I don't know, within an hour of JJ Redick talking to address the trade deadline. And if Rob is sitting there again and still has his picks and didn't make a move, there's going to be so much heat, attention, and pressure on Rob Pelinka. Why wouldn't every reporter just turn to Anthony Davis and say, hey, what do you think that, you asked and you went public on it. You went on with ESPN and you said, I'd like to be playing with another big. The fact that nothing happened, what are your thoughts on that? They'll put a mic in front of LeBron James and say, Bron, you mentioned that it was because of the construction of the roster. What do you think that there was no other move being made? I have a very, very difficult time thinking that Rob Pelinka is going to allow all that to happen over the next week, because it's his ass. The pressure will go on his shoulders. The conversation will only get louder about Rob Pelinka. And again, I'm not encouraging the Lakers to go make a bad move, but what I'm saying is clearly this roster is not good enough to compete. Clearly you have decided, and the franchise has decided, that you're not a team that's looking to sell. You're looking to buy. And you're trying to win right now. I really have a difficult time thinking that the Lakers are not going to make a move. Frankly, if I'm another team out there, I'm trying to make a move with the Lakers. I am. because I know they got valuable assets. I know those first rounders have a lot of value, and I know there's a ton of pressure on Rob Pelinka to make a move. All right, let's take a look at some of these comments. And I, like I said, between the two, as this man sits there, he's got to be saying, where is the pressure going to be? The pressure is going to be on Rob. The pressure is not going to be on, JJ Redick's in his first year as the head coach, right? JJ Redick's not going anywhere. Ownership's ownership. They're not going anywhere. They're always going to be the owners of the Los Angeles Lakers, the Buss family. The pressure, you could say, okay, is the pressure on LeBron? LeBron's 40. Is the pressure on Anthony Davis? Okay, yeah, there's pressure on Anthony Davis, but then there's also this piece of it is, well, what does the roster look like? Is it the right players? Did they complement the right players? AD's dropping. Go look at what AD's doing on a night in, night out basis. Does anybody think Anthony Davis is the problem? I don't. All right, let's see what some of the comments are here. All right, let's keep going here. Try to find some that are specific to the conversation. All right, let's see. Martin here. Martin, thank you very much for the super, brother. I appreciate you. Cheers. I think I'm going to do that every time. I think if someone throws money, I'm going to take a sip. Like we all take a break and just say thank you for a quick second. And we take a sip of our coffee. If re-sign exists, would you give up 2 firsts for Miles Turner? I lean yes. He will have value behind LeBron's years to redeem picks if needed. Okay, Martin, I'm going to come back to this because I'm going to read some of the comments yesterday because I did a video just on this, basically saying like, damn, Miles Turner is 2 first rounders. Then I'm reading an article this morning that Kessler's 2 first rounders. Might not have a choice. You might not have a choice. By the way, that sounds wildly absurd to give up 2 first rounders for those players, but if that's the price of doing business, I think that just might have to be the price. And I don't, I unfortunately for the Lakers, they just might not be in a position where they have that much negotiating power. I'll come back to your comment here in just a second. Kevin. Damn, Kevin. Thank you, brother. Thank you very much, man. I appreciate that. It's a lot of dough right there. Thank you. I will try my best to make sure whatever you put into the channel, I'll throw it right back into the channel. Thank you for the 20 spot there. Statistically, more likely for a first-round pick to be a bust than an all-star. Turner is worth 2 firsts, a legit two-way 7-foot rim-protecting big who can stretch the floor at 40%. Talking about 40% from 3. I think it's 39%. $30 million is a bargain. Can still sign a max after Bron. Okay, I'm not trying to give Miles Turner. I'm not trying to spend, let's say AD is 50 a year. I'm not trying to spend 80 million a year. Let's take 30 and let's take the, obviously what Anthony Davis costs. You're talking 80 million now going to your front court in a league where it's all about speed. It's all about wings. I like Miles Turner too, and I think he'd be a great fit. And I think he could be a really good fit after, obviously LeBron is gone as well, but you need a lot more pieces than just those 2 players. I mean, you're going to need, when LeBron's gone, you're going to need another true star. I'm talking a top 12 player in the league if you're competing for an NBA championship. So I'm a fan of Miles Turner's game as well. And it is an expiring contract, so you got to make sure that obviously you're bringing this guy back for the long term. Let's go right into this Miles Turner stuff, and then we'll take a look at the comments. Look at us. No guests today. We're chilling. We're taking our time. I feel like we can relax. I feel like we can finally talk again, you and I. I feel like we have some time here together. All right, let me go into that. Let me go into let me do this quick transition here from the cost for a big man. So Kevin, I'm going to keep your comment right there. I asked this question yesterday to Laker fans. I asked what they thought of who's that guy? I asked Laker fans yesterday. I asked the question of is Miles Turner worth 2 first rounders? Okay, let me read some of these comments. Miles Turner and AD combo is the best. The thing that everyone ignores is that the Pacers won't have a viable center if they trade Miles. Listen, let me tell you this. I've said this from the beginning. I'll say it again. I don't think they're going to trade Miles Turner. I don't. So keep that caveat in the back of your mind. Keep that in the rotation, because why would they not trade Miles Turner? Because there's going to be pressure from, that team and that city to say, got a shot at a fifth seed in the Eastern Conference. You're going to trade Miles Turner, who's 15 points a game, who's 10 rebounds a game, who's 2 block shots a game. He's having a good season. But if you're throwing 2 first rounders for Miles Turner and his contract's going to expire at the end of this year, and on top of that, you're saying to yourself, we're not going to pay him that money, I think the Indiana Pacers got to take a long look at that. All right, let me show some more here. Let me see here. LA needs to offer both first. Turner is young enough where LA can always flip him down the road and get at least 1 first back. Jonas is the worst defensive center out of all the bigs available. Part of this conversation is coming because can you get more value somewhere else? I've always wondered why Indiana would even consider trading Turner, as they already traded Sabonis. Okay, there's another one. Two first rounders are way too much. Agreed. You would only give it out for a franchise player. Agreed again. Apparently, to get a franchise player, it's not 2 first rounders. Apparently, it's a lot more than that. Because you want to talk about the market getting reset. Can you imagine if Miles Turner, hypothetically, get this adjusted here real quick. Can you imagine if Miles Turner hypothetically went for 2 first rounders? Let's just say he went for 2 first rounders. What's De'Aaron Fox going to cost? What's Brandon Ingram going to cost? I'll just use those 2 players as examples, kind of 2 guys that you can really have some building blocks. If Miles Turner goes for 2 firsts, what's De'Aaron Fox going to cost if he goes to San Antonio? What's Brandon Ingram going to cost if they actually end up trading him? Kevin, thank you again for the super, brother. I really appreciate that. All right, let's look at a couple more here. Let me look at a couple more here. Let's see. 2 firsts for a 1-year rental. I don't think it would be a rental. I don't think it would be a rental. I think it would be they're signing him for, I want to see one thing here real quick. I think they would be signing him for something that's long term. So I think they would get him kind of with the understanding that he's going to be there for a while. Yeah, I see this thing about I see somebody typing in here about Mikal Bridges cost them 6 picks. I know there's some pick swaps, this, that. I can't sit here. Listen, maybe that's just the price of doing business. I'm going to go back to what I said earlier as I kind of sit here. Wouldn't it feel a little absurd if Pelinka a week from today had not made a deal? This is why I think that's why I think he's going to do a deal. And it doesn't matter who it is. I mean, when I was talking to McMenamin yesterday, we were talking about, okay, let's say he went after Jonas. If he went after Jonas Valanciunas, I don't think, and he got Malcolm Brogdon in the deal, I don't think people can really bitch and complain about the move. I think they could say, okay, I kind of get why he did this. I understand why he made the move. Okay, he addresses 2 needs there. Maybe he only had to give up 1 first rounder instead of both first rounders. So that part I think is going to be kind of fascinating to watch. All right, let's get a couple more comments in here. All right, did that one. Or actually, we kind of went back to this one, Martin. So, obviously the 2 first rounders like you were talking about. It sounds like maybe 50-50 on this. Maybe more people lean towards, hey, if you're going to, yes, give up the 2 first rounders if you're getting a guy. I mean, I mentioned this. So I'm reading an article this morning, and this was something that Jovan had put out there. It says Walker Kessler ideal fit. Okay. Here's what the cost would be. Lakers to aggressively pursue him, noting that the cost would likely be 2 first-round picks or an unprotected first-rounder and rookie Dalton Connect. So you're getting 2 first-rounders one way or the other. So whether that's 2 first-round picks and you don't know, what those picks are, or 1 first-round pick, and then the other first-rounder that you drafted at number 17, that clearly has upside and has clearly also gone through his struggles so far this year. So whether it's Walker Kessler, whether it's Miles Turner, you're giving up some good assets to grab guys that are not franchise players. But I'll go back to it as well. And I know I talked about it a little bit earlier. If that's the price of doing business, that's the price of doing business. I mean, I'd love to sit here and say, that home in SoCal 10 years ago, it was, it sold for $649. Cool. It's now $950. And that's just the price of doing business. A lot of it has to do with the timing. All right, let's get another one in here. Pelinka needs to convince James to retire. Man, LeBron coverage is so interesting. There's no one that doesn't have an opinion on LeBron. Either love that guy, respect the guy. I was at a Laker game. I went to Lakers Celtics, and there's a dude rocking a Cavs jersey. Obviously LeBron. It's like LeBron either has just straight love or straight hate. There is no in-between emotions for LeBron James. There isn't. I appreciate the super, but there really isn't. Turner's agent is alive and well in this chat. Yeah, that price tag's crazy too. Of he's looking to get 30 a year. Again, guys, you know what? This just could be the price of doing business. There aren't too many big men who can get you 15 and 10 a night plus a couple of blocks and can shoot 39% from the three-point line. So appreciate it, Northborough AES. I love Walker Kessler because of that low contract. There are definitely positives with each one of these guys. I think the whole intention and point of the art or the conversation I wanted to have this morning, I don't see a world where Pelinka doesn't do something. I just don't see a world. The price for a big man is high. It's expensive. It's inflation. That's what it is. It's inflation. No, there's a price. The price for a big man is high, but that's the price. And I just have a very, very difficult time thinking that Pelinka is going to be sitting back there and saying, you know what, guys, I'm going to wait till the summer to do something. First off, he's going to lose faith from his own players within the organization, which is the most important thing. Then you're also going to have a fan base that will probably hallucinate that you've been telling everybody for 2 years now that you're going to make some kind of a deal. All right, let's get to a couple other topics that I want to get into. I'm going to feel free to put your comments in. I'll keep kind of going back to it, but there are a few other things that I want to get to in today's show. Real quick, I didn't do this yesterday. I'm going to just spend a quick second on this. There was a lot of chatter yesterday about Bronny playing in the game against Philly. And I guess when it happened, I mean, don't get me wrong, when it happened, I was like, why is Bronny checking in? Second of a back-to-back. Gabe Vincent's out. Vando's out. Anthony Davis is out of the game. JJ Redick tried kind of justifying it of, well, we're trying to just see if we can get some energy, whatever the case is. LeBron had a quote. Let me read the quote LeBron had here real quick. I had grabbed it. Let me see the quote that he had here. Obviously, it's his first extensive minutes with us. We had that first game where it was just a moment, and that was a great moment. But tonight was his first opportunity to be with the big guys, be with the big club, and he's going to continue to use that to get better and better. So there was a lot of chatter yesterday. First Take, some of these other, obviously kind of national shows that was running with the Bronny storyline. And this kind of tells you sometimes I don't personally have a pulse for things like this. I think it didn't shoot into my head. Oh, I gotta get in on Wednesday morning, and the first thing I'm gonna talk about is Bronny James. Maybe I'm not. Maybe from a topical perspective, it's not a big story to me. But I kind of, after seeing a lot of the reaction yesterday, I did kind of think a little bit more about. All right, let's kind of play this out here for a quick second. Bronny is getting minutes in a real game. And he's not being asked to come in for the final 2-3 minutes of a blowout and the game is over, like the game against the Boston Celtics or some other matchups where the Lakers maybe were getting blown out, we're about to lose, and then they check Bronny in. The crowd is chanting Bronny, Bronny. Okay, no harm done. Got 4 minutes in the first quarter. Got 15 minutes total, but 4 minutes in the first quarter. Do you guys know Bronny's stats this year? Not fair, but let me just tell you his stats. He's averaging 0.3 points a game, 0.4 rebounds a game, 0.3 assists a game. His total shooting percentage, it's almost kind of unfair to look at the percentage, but I'm trying to see if I could just find total shot attempts that he's taken. I don't think I could see that off the top here, so I'll just kind of leave it alone. It's 6.3% from the field. There is zero justification to play Bronny James in a real game in real minutes. Zero. None. There's no conversation. I don't want to read a quote from LeBron. I don't want to read a quote from JJ Redick. I don't want to read a reason why you would justify throwing Bronny in the mix. You guys remember on Monday I was doing the show and I mentioned Bronny. I was reading a quote right after the G League game, and I was giving the man credit. I'm like, the guy dropped 31 in a G League game. That's impressive. I like that. Good for him. Shot well from the field. Had, I think, 12, 15 points, something like that in the fourth quarter. South Bay held on for the win, whatever the case is. We all know where he's supposed to be. He's supposed to be down at the South Bay. We all know he's supposed to be developing. We all know that if he is going to get any minutes, any justification, it's going to come late at the game where the game doesn't matter. There is zero justification, especially for a team that's actually trying to win. And I'm not telling you that because you played Bronny for 15 minutes and 4 minutes in the first quarter. That's why they lost to the Philadelphia 76ers. What I'm telling you is no one can justify to me him playing real minutes. None. It actually, you know what? The worst thing that it does, it just puts him in a bad spot. It puts him in a shitty position because, I mean, listen, the guy's going to say the right things. I think anytime that I've seen him in an interview, you see his body language and everything. There's nothing about Bronny that I don't want to see. I'm like, you know what? I hope this guy can have some success. I hope that when LeBron retires, that this guy can still be on a team, preferably not the Lakers, so he can actually go develop somewhere else and the attention can be on basketball, and let's see where this guy could go. And I don't have any expectations for him. There's nothing I've seen where I'm like, yeah, that's a real NBA rotational player. Maybe in 2, 3, 4 years, that's different. He's super young and you know, obviously trying to figure out the league. But in the end of January, where every game matters, why would he get rotational minutes? Again, probably a conversation we should have had yesterday. I didn't have it. Listened to all the aftermath yesterday of what people were saying. And it was actually on First Take where they mentioned his stats and Stephen A kind of went on a rant. And I'm like, okay, I actually was not aware, nor have I ever paid attention to his stats. Why would I pay? It's irrelevant to me because I'm just assuming the guy's not going to get real playing time. He got real playing time against Philly. And the more I think about it, the more I'm kind of like, yeah, that's you're putting him at a disadvantage. You know, more than anything else, I think you're hurting Bronny James in that regards of wanting to see what his career could potentially look like. The man should be in the G League, period. And then if you want him to get some NBA minutes, make sure he's getting NBA minutes when the game doesn't matter. All right, we'll keep going here. Keep going here. I want to get into this Adam Silver stuff, but at least you guys kind of saw, at least you guys kind of, you know, got obviously my thoughts on that position real quick. Let the man develop in the G League. Doesn't have to be up with the big boys, you know. And again, this is not a team. This isn't the Wizards. It's not the Utah Jazz. It's not the Blazers. It's not a team out there that's basically saying, hey, the more we lose, the better, because we don't care. We're just looking at draft capital. I got a quick question for NBA fans out there. And then I'll get back to some of these comments. Slee, we all know why Bronny got minutes, so let's not pretend. No, I know why he got minutes. There's just no justification for it. It's a bad look for everybody. It's a bad look for Bronny. It hurts Bronny the most. I'm telling you, that's who it hurts the most. Because when those crowds are chanting Bronny, Bronny to come in, it's there's no this isn't this like high level prospect that everybody's excited to see. It's just for show. I don't want to. Does Bronny, you think, want to be associated with that? I don't think so. Okay, so there was an article that came out. I guess Adam Silver. If you guys got more comments, I'll get into it as we get to the end of the show here, or after I get through a couple more of these topics. Adam Silver was on the Dan Patrick Show, and Adam Silver threw out an idea. I'm going to read you guys a quote here from Adam Silver. And it's about, listen, it's kind of a drastic change to the NBA if the league did this. But let me just read the quote here, and then we'll get everybody's thoughts on it. He said, as we get more involved in global basketball, the NBA is the only league that plays 48 minutes. And I am a fan of 4 10-minute quarters. I'm not sure that many others are. Putting aside what it means for records and things like that, I think that a 2-hour format for a game is more consistent with modern television habits. Okay? So I guess the NBA right now is averaging 2 hours and 16 minutes on average is the game. So something to keep in mind there. Last thing he says, I think of a television program being 2 hours, Olympic basketball being 2 hours, college basketball, of course, is 40 minutes. And he's talking about potentially changing the game and shaving a couple minutes off each quarter. Okay. Let me give you guys my quick initial thoughts on this. By the way, Michael Malone of the Denver Nuggets, he says, I hope we don't become Barnum and Bailey or do whatever we have to do to keep viewership, because there's greatness and a history to this game and a purity to this game that I hope we can find a way to stay true to. Michael Malone basically saying this is going to become a clown show with some of the different rules that the NBA is making. I think he even referenced something as a 4-pointer. Obviously, he doesn't want to see anything change. I think Tom Thibodeau had said something as well. I'm more of a traditional guy, so I'd hate to see that. So, obviously they gave their opinions on it, and those were just two coaches that gave their opinion on it last night. Can I tell you right now what my pet peeve is in the NBA? The thing that I hate most about the NBA, and then we'll come back to this potentially changing it to 10-minute quarters. Here's what I hate about the NBA. I hate how often the game is stopped. I hate how long the replays take. I hate how they don't let the players play. Let the players kind of dictate the vibe of the game. Let the players dictate physicality, finesse, whatever. I hate how they don't let the players just kind of let the players be, which I think will improve the product. I hate the lack of creativity, the style of basketball in today's game. There really isn't that much creativity. Yes, I understand everybody's trying to shoot threes. That's fine if there were a lot better three-point shooters, but that's not really the case. Everyone's taking the threes, whether you can take a three or you can't. I hate how in the final 2 minutes of a basketball game, it takes 45 minutes. It takes 30 minutes to finish up a game. It's the equivalent. I've given this example before. It's the equivalent of watching a really good movie. And then in the final 10 minutes of the movie gets stopped. The lights come on. Everybody's like, what the hell's going on here? This is like the best part of the movie. And they're like, yeah, we'll be, just give us like 2 minutes and then we're going to turn the movie back on. All right. Then you wait. So 10 minutes left is the best part. You had to wait. Okay. And then the movie starts back up again. And then 3 minutes later, it's like the critical scene that's going on. It's an action movie. They stop the movie again. I was like, what the F is going on? Why are you stopping the movie again? guys, we just need a couple more minutes here. We just got one issue that's going on. We're going to get this handled and get right back to the movie. Obviously, you'd walk away from that movie and you never watch that movie again. I don't know if the NBA needs from 12 minutes to 10 minutes. You can make a case. Hey, I've been covering the NBA for years now. If you told me that you're shaving off 15, 20 minutes off of the game, and we just kind of keep it moving, I don't know how much sleep I'm going to lose. I'm going to say, okay, my post-game show is going to be a little bit quicker. Sometimes the start time, 7:30 tip-offs in the West Coast, it's like, can you move this up a little bit? There's things to complain about. I don't know if the complaining about 12 to 10 minutes a quarter, so shaving off 8 minutes a game, I don't know if that's the one that I'm sitting back and I'm saying, this is the solution to the NBA. The NBA's got it right now. The NBA's got nothing to worry about. So it's kind of an interesting story. But I got other things that I think are more annoying with the NBA, troublesome, I guess you can say, than the quarters. All right, see what I got here. Let's see. Why don't they add a sixth player? Fouls and replays slow the game so much. It kills it. It kills the game. It kills the vibe. It kills the action. It kills the energy. I mean, watching the game on TV, it kills the vibe. Being at a game, it's like the lights turn back on. Everybody just kind of sits there. And I mean, that to me is really, really the part that is really, really tough to watch in games. All right, let's see what we got here. See, the challenge is a joke because you lose it even if you win the challenge. Yeah, my problem is it just adds so much stoppage to the game. Too many stoppages. Gotta do something about, 100%. Players that hunt free throws. Couldn't agree more. Adam Silver is not about the game. He's a lawyer about greed and profits. You know what's interesting? Adam Silver was considered like, oh my gosh, this guy he's the perfect commissioner for the NBA. This is a few years back. Guy's getting a lot of criticism now. So whatever that perception was of him is, I don't know how great that is anymore. Adam Silver needs to stop listing analytics office. NBA fans don't want less basketball. Too many gimmicks. Maybe that's how people feel about it. Maybe a lot of people are kind of sitting back and I think he's been commissioner now for 10 years, something along those lines. So it's not like the guy hasn't been there. He's been there. It's just a matter of what do they do from here. All right, let me see if I could get a couple more in here. And then I got one baseball topic that I want to get into, and then we're going to call it a day. Appreciate all the supers, by the way. If you guys don't mind subscribing to the channel, we'll greatly appreciate that as well. All right, let's get to a couple more, and then we're going to keep going. I'm down with the 4-point circle. It is a little gimmicky. Not going to lie. Why not do a running clock? Okay. A little more interesting there. Yeah, I'll tell you this. There's, when people say, hey, the league is healthy, look at the contracts they just got, $77 billion. They did. That's I think the number that they got their rights deal and everything else. Players are going to start making probably 70, 80 million a year here pretty soon. Just because the numbers are healthy, it doesn't mean that people like the product. The numbers are healthy is because it is a global brand and people are watching from outside of the States. And, look at all the top players in the world right now. You got Luka, you got Nikola Jokic, you got Giannis Antetokounmpo, you got all these players that they're not born here in the States. So the brand is big. It is definitely a global brand, but at the same time, it doesn't mean that the product is good. So that's something that they're eventually going to have to figure out. Okay, I got one last topic that I want to get into. I was going to do this yesterday. I did not. We all know kind of the conversation in the offseason. Baseball, in regards to baseball, has been about the Dodgers, right? That the Dodgers have gone out and, I mean, I don't really know. I forget which one it was. There was a network I was looking at this morning that was grading the teams in the NL West, their offseason. I'm like, okay, well, this is pretty easy. Dodgers were an A+. Padres were an F. Just straight up an F. Lost some players. You got the ownership issue that's going on. I don't know what the hell's going on in that organization. We'll see what eventually happens. But a lot of the conversation has obviously been about the Dodgers. Yankees owner, Hal Steinbrenner, was talking about it. I think it was yesterday, talking about the Dodgers offseason. So they spent $450 million this offseason. They pushed their 2025 luxury tax payroll to approximately $390 million. They got penalties exceeding $241 million. Dodgers' total payroll for this year likely will be in excess of $500 million. And the Dodgers are probably saying, do you want that in cash? Do you want us to send you a wire transfer? Do you want us to put it in a couple suitcases and we'll bring it down? We'll maybe kind of throw it in a Range Rover. We'll just put the seats back in the Range Rover, and then we'll just stack all the cash in there, and then we'll deliver it straight to the bank. You just tell us how you want the money. Here's what Hal Steinbrenner said. He said, it's difficult for most of us owners to be able to do the kind of things that they're doing. We'll see if it pays off. Then he goes on to say, they still have a season that's relatively, or they still have to have a season that's relatively injury-free for it to work out for them. It's a long season, as you know, and once you get to the postseason, anything can happen. We've seen that time and time again. We'll see who's there at the end. Okay, we know what the Dodgers have done in the offseason. Blake Snell, Tanner Scott, Roki Sasaki, Michael Conforto, Hae-Sung Kim. They re-signed Teoscar Hernandez, Blake Trinan, Tommy Edman. So they've had a busy offseason on top of all the players that they're going to obviously have coming back and go from there. So I got a couple thoughts on this. First off, I don't know if I care for the quote of, well, they still have to go out there and, be injury-free and everything else, and there's no guarantees. I don't really know what you mean about that. I mean, they had a lot of injuries last year. I mean, their ace, Tyler Glasnow, did not pitch. They had key players that were out. Shohei wasn't even healthy in the World Series. They still won the World Series. Now, there's also been times where they've looked pretty healthy and they haven't won in the World Series. In other years, in other seasons, it's not like the Dodgers just became good last year. They've been good for 12 years. Here's the one thing that I will tell you that, they say, well, money can't buy you anything in baseball. Let me tell you what money can buy you in baseball. This is what money can guarantee the Dodgers. What money can guarantee the Dodgers is, what's a fair number? 95 wins? Is that fair? That's kind of probably on the low end, right? Money can guarantee them about 95 wins. And I think I'm on the low end. If the Dodgers won 110 games next year, nobody's going to be like, what? That's crazy. I would have never imagined that. No, they're going to say, okay, yeah, but look at that roster. So it can guarantee them close to 100 wins. It can guarantee them the NL West. It can guarantee them a first round bye. And it could also guarantee them positioning to basically have their order set up when the playoffs start, when that team that comes out of the divisional round, has to use, they got that 3-game set. They're obviously using their main starters, their bullpen, everything else. So you're also at a disadvantage when that series starts. Money can buy you a lot in baseball. Let's not pretend like it can't. It is basically guaranteed the Dodgers 12 of the last 13 NL West championships. And the only year they didn't have they win the NL West was when the Giants won. I forget the numbers. It was like 106 regular season wins, 105. They were a game behind, or 107, 106, whatever the case is. So money can buy you everything. There was an article that came out. Here's the only, and I don't need to tell you guys, my thoughts and where I am. You guys know I'm a Padres fan. Do you like how I feel like I have to mention that every time? But this is, I think, what gets lost with the Dodgers. They have all the money in the world. They have incredible resources. There was an article that came out. ESPN's top 100 prospect list. Guys, this to me is just as important as the Dodgers being able to go out there and spend as much money as they do. The Dodgers also have one of the top farm systems in baseball. The Dodgers have 8 of the top 100 prospects on ESPN's top 100 prospect list. That's the part of the Dodgers that's not talked about enough. Right now, everybody wants to talk about how much money they're spending, me included. People want to talk about what's going on, these deferrals. What do you mean they got $1 billion in deferrals down the road, me included? Everybody wants to talk about there's a disparity between what some markets can do and what some markets can't do, me included. But when you push all that to the side and you look at the bones of the Dodgers organization, are they just spending money and they don't have prospects coming up? Are they just spending money wildly? Yes. But it doesn't mean that they don't have a good farm system. Are they just depending on their cash? No, they're not. Roki Sasaki, by the way, is on this list. I think some of there are a few of the other kind of main Baseball America, baseball prospects. There's an MLB pipeline. There's a few others that don't include Roki Sasaki on the list. So Roki Sasaki was number 1 on the top 100 prospect list. Okay, let's just say 7 of the top 100 players are coming through the Dodgers organization. This is the piece of the Dodgers that's not talked about enough, that allows them to go out there and make a trade with a team like Tampa Bay for Tyler Glasnow. To go out there and kind of maneuver a little bit. Now, the Dodgers are doing something a little bit different over the last 2 years. Since they signed Shohei Ohtani, they just said, F it. We'll go pay Yamamoto $325. We'll go pay Glasnow, even though the guy has a ton of injuries, 135, and his injuries played out in the last playoff round. We'll go pay Blake Snell. What'd they pay him? 180, whatever that number is. The Dodgers now have kind of got to that stage where it's like, it's almost like an obligation to Shohei. Shohei, if you come here, yes, we know you're going to make us an incredible amount of money and open up our brand and franchise in ways that we never thought was possible. But we will also, I feel like there's this like agreement between Shohei and the Dodgers. Shohei basically saying, look, I'm going to defer my money and I'm also going to make you more money than you could possibly think of. You better go spend it. And the Dodgers are like, yes, sir. Whatever it is that you need, we're going to go ahead and do. But I just wanted to mention this because there is a lot of complaining about the Dodgers right now, led by your guy right here. But I think what's not talked about enough is they just came out with this. I think this came out yesterday. Dodgers and ESPN's top 2025 top 100 prospects. They got 8 of them. 8 of them. I've always gave this example about the Dodgers. Think about somebody. Think about somebody that's got a ton of money. Maybe you know somebody personally. Maybe you heard stories about this person. Someone's got a ton of money. And that person that's got 10 mil sitting in the bank is at Nordstrom Rack and is like looking for a pair of jeans. And he's, there's all these, the jeans are everywhere. It's disorganized. The line is going to take you 15 minutes in itself. And there's this guy. It's like, you got 10 mil in the bank. Why are you here? I'm just kind of looking for that deal. Do you know these jeans cost 110 at Nordstrom, but at Nordstrom Rack, they're 60? It's like, brother, you're worth 10 mil. That's the Dodgers. It's like they got all the money in the world, all the resources, but they didn't lose the principle of saying, we still got to treat the farm system like we're the Tampa Bay Rays or like they're the Miami Marlins. They're treating it as if they're a market that doesn't have all the resources that they do. So there's a compliment for the Dodgers. See how long it took me to give them a compliment? All right, let's see some of the comments here. right, let's see what we got here. Sour grapes, Hal Steinbrenner. The Yankees spent a fortune, huge payroll. The Dodgers were the best team. I'm glad the Dodgers beat the Yankees. Now, I think what Hal Steinbrenner is saying, there's some truth to. It just should not come from Hal Steinbrenner and the Yankees, because the Yankees are a global brand. They're in the number one market. They just don't run their business as good as the Dodgers. And maybe that just has to do with this Guggenheim group and everything else. But let's see a couple more here. It's because they develop them, other teams trade for them. Let's see what else we got here. Name all the homegrown players on your team. Does Tatis count as a homegrown? They did trade for him. Yeah, I don't think Tatis really counts as a homegrown. You know, I don't think he counts. I don't. By the way, I think some people. I know he was with the White Sox organization, so I think some people would probably look. I was just trying to look at that trade that they made for him. Obviously, Jackson Merrill. Yeah, not many. Not many. All right, let's let's read a couple more here and then we'll go. Let's see. Let's see. You still have to win. They do. Listen, I really genuinely think this when I say it. Don't tell me money can't guarantee you things in baseball. It can. It doesn't guarantee that they're going to win a World Series, but don't tell me money can't put you in a phenomenal position every single year. The Dodgers are in a phenomenal position every single year, but it's not just the money that's put them in that position. Like I'm telling Richards, that's a good analogy. They also are in a way they don't care about their money, and in another way they're very cheap with their money. So they got kind of that fine balance. All right, my people. That is all we got here for today's show. What do we go? $113. We're gonna $113. I got a couple calls here that I got coming up, so I'm gonna go start getting ready for that. I appreciate you guys hanging out today. I thought we had some good topics. Lakers got a game coming up tonight. Got the Washington Wizards, early tip-off, 4 o'clock. I'll be right here in studio after the game, so we'll be able to talk about hopefully a Lakers W and then getting closer to the trade deadline. Kind of a fun time of the year. So kind of take from there. We'll see you guys a little bit later tonight. Thank you for being a part of the show. Please subscribe to the channel. Hope you guys have a great rest of your morning, afternoon, and then we'll see you tonight. Thank you, everybody.